Folks, we're visiting today with Carl Ramsey. He's one of the owners of Toothman Sowers in Fairmont, West Virginia, Marion County. Carl, thanks for being on the podcast.
My pleasure. Excited to be here, Jim.
Yeah, it's great to have you on the show, and I'm looking forward to learning more about your business.
Awesome.
Positively West Virginia is powered by Breezeline high-speed fiber internet and sponsored by Highmark West Virginia, Freedom Key of Morgantown, and Storymaker. With the help of these sponsors, we are able to share the positive business stories of West Virginians, including the one featured in today's episode.
All right, Carl, tell us a little bit about Toothman Sowers. What do you do?
Yeah, so we're a new Ford dealership. We also sell pre-owned vehicles, and we have a full service center. We work on everything from small cars to large fleet commercial vehicles, and a full service parts department as well.
Yeah, amazing. So, Carl, tell us a little bit about your background. Are you from West Virginia?
I am. Clarksburg is home for me.
All right. Now, did you go to school down there and everything?
Yes,
Talk a little bit about that experience.
Yep. So I was born and raised in Clarksburg, graduated from Notre Dame High School in 2001, actually.
All right, great. And then tell us a little bit about your career. What did you do after you graduated high school?
Sure. So I was a little bit of an anomaly. I actually started young with having a family. So as a senior in high school, I actually had a daughter on the way. And so for me, the path of college wasn't necessarily in the cards at that point. So I joined the workforce right away, working a couple different jobs right out of high school.
Yeah, you had you caught that entrepreneurial bug. What did you do?
For sure. So one of the things I first done was I would install and work on stereo equipment and did that myself. And, had some aspirations of starting my own place doing that. Really enjoyed that side of it. But I quickly learned when talking to people, never considered it before, but I had a lot of feedback that, hey, you're pretty good at talking to people. Have you considered sales? And that kind of clicked the light bulb, I guess.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's fascinating how that works, right? Somebody could just say something and you're like, wow, I never really considered that.
Yes.
So talk about your sales journey. How did you get started in sales, and what did you do?
So kind of a funny story. My first sales job, I knew it said sales, but I didn't think it would be as hard a sell as it turned out to be. The ad in the paper said I'd be selling Class 2 medical devices. So it sounded very official and maybe like it wouldn't be something very hard to sell.
Sure.
When I go in for the job and interview and they let me know I have the job, I was then made aware the Class 2 medical device I was selling was a vacuum cleaner with an air filter. So
like a HEPA filter, right?
HEPA filter.
That's a Class 2. All right.
A Class 2 medical
that's pretty cool.
device.
It's all in the way you frame it, right?
Right. That's it.
Oh, that's cool. So how did that first job go in sales?
That was interesting, trying to sell $3,000 to $4,000 vacuum cleaners, and I had to knock on doors, and so just
like
kind of door to door,
I
genuinely.
mean, that what great training ground, though.
It was. Then I didn't realize it, but you're right. Looking back, it was fantastic training and learning opportunity. Yes.
Because, there's such a thing for folks who may be listening that don't know about sales. There's a theory called call reluctance, where it's like you just don't want to do it. But when you're doing door-to-door sales, you got to walk up the driveway, walk up the sidewalk, knock on the door, and talk to people.
Yes.
They're right there in front of you.
Right there in front of you. You never know who's on the other side of that door as well either.
Yeah. All right. Well, what did you do after that?
So after my time selling medical devices, I actually cell phone kiosks started to pop up in the area. So this was maybe, I don't know, 04. And I got a job at a Sprint branded kiosk that turned out it was a joint venture with Radio Shack.
Yeah.
So they owned half, Sprint owned half, but they were all branded as solely Sprint kiosks. Yeah. So there was one in the Meadowbrook Mall that I got hired on part-time, and quickly done really well with that. And within 4 months, I was the store manager. No idea what I was doing to manage things or people, but I was a good salesman, so they just kept promoting me.
That's the way it works a lot of times, right?
It is. Yeah. So it was trial by fire, and I learned as I went and really enjoyed that and thought I thought I would do that the rest of my life, actually. And as everybody listening and yourself is aware, Radio Shack is no longer a thing. So
yeah. I used to love Radio Shack stores.
they were so cool.
Yeah,
They were
exactly.
so cool.
You could find all kind of electronics and parts.
Exactly.
Which is hard to find those things nowadays.
Exactly.
Well, that's very
Exactly.
cool. So how did you get in? How in the world did you get into car sales?
Yeah,
from
so that
there?
was the next jump. So like end of '07, I thought I was going to be able to become a district manager for the Tandy Corporation Radio Shack
sure.
Sprint.
Yeah.
And then they made the announcement they were closing stores, and they had closed several hundred. Ultimately, as we said, everything closed up. But that left me at the very beginning of '08, figuring out what I'm going to do for a career. Seen an ad in a newspaper for a local dealership hiring. Said walk-in interview. So I walked in off the street and interviewed to sell cars, and then I guess the rest is history, so to speak. They gave me a shot at selling cars, and what I found, to your point with like the vacuum cleaners, right? That ended up being a great training ground, because with vacuum cleaners, I had to go out door to door. With the cell phone kiosk, I was actually one of the annoying people in the mall that stop you when you walk by, right? So I had to stop and get you to talk to me. So here at all of a sudden at a dealership, people were coming to me. I wasn't used to that, so it actually was much easier than the previous.
Because they're in the
roles.
market, they're hot. They're looking for something that you have.
They're there for a reason, right?
They're
If
there
coming
for a
in.
reason.
Yeah,
that's excellent. All right, well, good. So here you are, 2025.
Yeah.
And you are now an owner of a dealership.
Yes.
I mean, that's pretty amazing. So how does that feel to have reached that kind of a pinnacle of ownership in a store, an automotive retailer?
Surreal. It was definitely always a dream, and definitely still surreal to this point. I love what I do every day. It doesn't feel like a job. I love going in. I love hiring young guys, giving them their first shot in sales and watching them better themselves. So it feels fantastic and still surreal at this point.
Yeah. Well, how did it come about?
Yeah.
Being a partner in a dealership, that's amazing.
Yeah. So I'll try to give you the long story a little condensed.
That's
but
okay.
Spent a few years selling vehicles, did really well on the sales side. And what had happened, Ford, along with most manufacturers, my first break kind of came when Ford decided all dealers need to embrace the digital age, and you need to have a website, which seems basic knowledge now, but it wasn't then. Yeah. You need to have a website. You need to have your inventory listed. And when people go online and ask about these cars, back then, you need to respond to them within 48 hours. If you can imagine that. The goal's 5 minutes now, by the way. So
that's
my
great.
background with cell phones, I was considered one of the more tech-savvy guys. So I kind of got nominated to, well, if we got to do stuff digitally and online, this is our best tech guy. So I got a lot of training support from Ford and learned the digital side of things, website, internet side of how to sell cars online. That was the first big domino to fall. And from there, my wife is actually from Northeast Ohio. And so when we decided to move to Northeast Ohio, one of the trainers from Ford, the digital trainers that had been working with me, helped place me at a store up there. It was a very large, successful store. Got there and, 1,000 new Fords on the lot. I've never seen that many new Fords before. 400 pre-owned vehicles. Wow. It was a 77-acre campus, multiple points. And they gave me the opportunity to be the internet director and oversee the internet operations for all the buildings, all campuses, all points, and on the service side and sales. So that was like a huge turning point in my career to get that opportunity and learn from them.
That's excellent, man. I appreciate your story. And when we come back, I really want to talk to you about more about Toothman Sowers and what you're known for. This is Positively West Virginia. We'll be right back.
Your prescriptions are designed to keep you healthy, active, full of life. At Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, we're making vital medicine more affordable. Because when your prescriptions don't cost an arm and a leg, you can use those limbs for something more meaningful. Because life. Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, West Virginia.
Folks, we're back. We're visiting with Carl Ramsey. He's one of the owners of Toothman Sowers in Fairmont, West Virginia. Carl, I love your story so far. This is really getting great. Tell us a little bit about where you are today with Toothman Sowers. What are you known for?
Yeah, what we are known for best, I believe, and what we do best is transparency and our what we call market best pricing.
Yeah.
So we are very big on giving our best price upfront and keeping it consistent. You hear horror stories of people that say, well, I went online and seen this price, called in, got this price, went to the dealership, got this. We ensure that does not happen. So we're very big what we call market best pricing and transparent pricing that, Jim, if you went to our website and looked, called in or showed up, it's the same price consistently beginning to end, and it's a fair price. Our average used car, we have people driving 112 miles away on average to buy a used vehicle from us because of how aggressive our pricing is.
Wow, that's fantastic. Excellent job on that. So what about the products? You hear about, I personally drive an F-150 Ford.
That.
You know, what are some of the best sellers that you're known for here in West Virginia?
You hit the nail on the head. The F-150 is it. So 48 years best-selling truck. So F-150 is our bread and butter. Lately, it's been exciting. We have some new nameplates that have been appealing to younger generations, such as the Bronco, when Ford brought the Bronco back. Also, we have the Maverick, a much smaller pickup, was a white space vehicle before. There's nothing else like it by any other manufacturer. So those two have brought a lot of first-time Ford owners into the fold, so to speak.
Yeah, that's very cool. So you mentioned 112 miles. What's the geography, like your region that you're responsible for?
Yeah, so for us particularly, we really focus on Marion County, a little bit of Shinston, like that's our backyard, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
But because we price so aggressive, it is not uncommon for us if we sell 10 cars in a day for a couple to be from Pennsylvania, a couple from Ohio, a couple from Maryland. So it ends up going pretty broad. I'm in the middle, was on the phone out in the parking lot working on selling a Bronco in Connecticut right now.
Oh my goodness.
So.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because as you were laying out your background and your experience, it seems as though your path was perfectly, you may not have known it at the time, but it was leading you to this point. You mentioned the technology and being the technology expert, experience in phones and the way things are done today. And now with the internet, like you said, the barriers are down, right? And people can shop and do whatever they want to, primarily online. But there's got to be a grounding there. They want that pricing that you talked about, and that's what you're known for. But there's also got to be a level of service to back that up, doesn't there?
Absolutely. I'm
How
glad
important is that?
Very, extremely. So what we say is, the price might sell the first vehicle, the service sells the rest of them if we sell a family
in terms
multiple
of keeping
vehicles.
Your customer for life, I want to say, but I think that's kind of the idea. You want to customer acquisition, no matter what you do, what you're selling is expensive. Absolutely. And you want to keep them.
Absolutely. That is our goal 100%. So we do some unique things such as pickup and delivery at no charge. So if you called me and said, I need my oil changed, we actually have full-time pickup and delivery drivers that come pick up the vehicle, bring it in, we service it, bring it back. We also have 2 mobile service vehicles. So let's say that F-150 had a recall that you have, I can send a mobile service tech out potentially to do the recall depending upon what it is, so you never have to come into the dealership. Yes, all about convenience.
Because I think that's you're talking about the experience, right? The customer experience, and I think that a lot of times, especially businesses that I talk with, a lot of times they forget that it's about the experience. As a consumer, we all want to have a great experience. You don't want to be shuffled around. You don't want to be lied to, or like you said, you see one price and now it's a different.
Exactly.
So I think that what you're doing, you're onto something there, very, very important and powerful. If you meet somebody for the first time, I always ask folks, what's your 30-second pitch?
My 30-second pitch is that TNS Ford, we offer market best pricing. We use sophisticated software to ensure you get the best price up front every time, and it's consistent no matter how you reach out to us, internet, phone, or walk in.
Yeah.
you're not going to pay more than my neighbor would pay, and so on and so
Yeah,
forth.
that's good.
Yeah.
That's all, I always wonder about that. You know, you think you're getting a good deal, then you got a good deal, right? But is it really a good deal
Yeah.
if your neighbor got a better deal?
Exactly.
So I appreciate you mentioning that.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. So, Carl, how many employees do you have there at the dealership?
We're about 55 now.
Wow, that's a big
Yes.
that's a big dealership.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
got that, and that includes everything from service to sales to parts and
Parts.
so forth.
Yep.
Where are
we've
you
been able to
located
grow.
there in Fairmont?
So we are technically in Whitehall,
Whitehall, yeah.
right off exit 132.
Yep.
And there used to be it was previously Wilson Ford, now Toothman and Sowers, and then across the street used to be a Buick GMC dealership that has since closed down. We bought that building, and that is now our pre-owned lot. So on both sides of the street, we have over 100 vehicles for sale on either side.
Yeah, that's great. That's very cool. So you've been in the car business for a number of years. When did you get started?
Yep, very beginning of 08.
08. So
Yeah.
you've been in for a while.
Yeah.
What's one of the most interesting things you've seen in business since you've been in the car business?
Ooh, probably one of the most interesting things I've seen was during COVID. So during COVID, with the vehicle shortage and watching how used cars for the first time in all my years doing it were appreciating and going up in value, right? Usually a car is a depreciating asset. So we had some very unique circumstances. I can remember one time buying a truck from an auction in Flint, Michigan, and we had a very hard time getting the truck. The transporter went to pick it up, couldn't get the truck started, right? And it sat there and it sat there and it sat there, and this drug out. I'm embarrassed to say how long it drug out. Yeah. And normally I would have lost my tail on that because how quick vehicles can depreciate. Well, during COVID, by the time we got this thing going and back, it was like, oh my goodness, it's worth how many more thousands of dollars than
just the
when we bought it, just from it sitting there disabled for that time. So it was a very unique time. And I think one of the things I'm most proud about at the dealership at Toothman and Sowers is Toothman and Sowers did not mark up vehicles to take advantage of customers during that shortage time. There were people that marked up vehicles, sold them over sticker. We never sold any vehicles over MSRP.
Yeah, that's strong. It's a testament to your character, really. So I appreciate you sharing that story too.
Yeah.
I always love hearing those types of things. This is Positively West Virginia. We'll be right back. Stay connected with an unbeatable deal from Breezeline. Voted best in Mountaineer Country for their reliable, high-speed fiber internet for a low cost, Breezeline is the best gig in town. You know, here at InnerAction Media, we rely on high-speed internet every single day to ensure we can deliver the best content possible for our clients and when we publish Positively West Virginia each week. That's why we use Breezeline. It's affordable, fast, and they're great people as well. Learn more about Breezeline's internet, TV, and mobile options at breezeline.com. Folks, we're visiting with Carl Ramsey. He's one of the owners of Toothman and Sowers. Carl, we talked about business and how difficult it can be sometimes, but how do you get the word out there these days to attract new customers?
Yeah, social media is huge for us, and social media has been big. So we really encourage all of our guys. What we tell a new sales rep starting with us is that, hey, you are in business for yourself, but not by yourself. We provide the inventory, we provide the space to work, the tools you need, and what we really try to encourage each sales rep to do. He has his own network of people that we may not have, and so we encourage them to be very active on social media, whether that's posting pictures with the customers that they're buying vehicles of, posting newly arrived inventory, but encourage our guys to be very, very active on social media.
Yeah, that's great. How do they do with that? Do they receive it well?
They do, and the ones that do best, the ones that lead the board, are very active.
Yeah.
It's funny, I've got a guy that leads my board month in, month out. He's done it 40 years. He actually does not own a cell phone. A little jealous at times, but he's the only guy I know that doesn't own a cell phone. But he still makes a point that when he sells a car, he has one of the other guys come take the picture, put it on social media. He just did a video. The guys helped him create a video, and he got like 80,000 views on TikTok and whatnot. So
that's so cool.
So they do well with it. They're embracing it.
So how does that work? If you don't mind me asking, you don't have to get into the secret sauce, but is it primarily like commission sales? Is that how how the car business works?
Yeah, primarily it is.
So let me ask you this: when you started out selling vacuum cleaners,
Yeah.
Class 2 medical devices,
That's right.
door to door, were those commission jobs?
They were.
Yeah.
They
So
were.
you kind of grew up in that environment, and
Yes.
I think there's a lot of negative stereotypes about commission only, but me personally, I love commission sales because you can write your own paycheck.
Exactly.
If you want a pay
Bingo.
raise, get an extra sale, right? Or
That's
whatever the
exactly.
thing is. You want that vacation, let's go. you know?
Agreed. Yep.
So,
You write your own paycheck. That's exactly the way we share it to our guys. And
Yeah.
most of them, after getting a taste of it, hey, if you come in and work harder than the guy next to you, if you work twice as hard, you'll probably make twice as much.
and again, this is going to sound harsh, but in the sales business, I always called that the thrill of the kill.
Yeah.
You're not killing anybody, you're not doing any damage, but it's that primal instinct of you getting a sale, securing business. It generates a primal urge, I think, in us. And you want more.
Yep.
It whets that appetite, and you say, okay, I could do this. Number one, I did it.
Yep.
And I want to do it again because I love that feeling.
Yes, I totally agree. It's addicting, and most people that come in will never go back. They have some success, to your point, and get that first sell, and they never go back to an hourly job after.
And quite honestly, I think that's the beauty of being in business.
Yeah.
Being an entrepreneur, being a small business owner, even if it's a side hustle, you make that deal and you're like, all right, somebody bought what I'm actually selling.
Yeah.
There's validity in that, right? You get that positive reinforcement, and then makes you want to do it again. Absolutely. And I think that's to me is most successful entrepreneurs. Yes, they're great leaders. They're great, thinkers. They're great, critical thinkers. They're people that can look at a profit and loss statement and understand what the numbers mean. But most importantly, I think it's just that feeling you get of helping somebody. Somebody came in, I served them, they paid me, and everybody wins. There's a factor of business that I think sometimes gets forgotten. It's that emotion that you get from succeeding.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And it's fun to see the young guys when they first get that first taste. You can see their confidence just raise and boost.
Yeah. And if they don't, then maybe they're not made for sales or whatever, and that's
Sure.
okay too.
Yeah.
You got to have, it takes all kinds,
Yep.
as they say. So right now, in terms of growing your business, Carl, what would you say is the biggest challenge you're facing?
Well, right now, the biggest challenge is acquiring inventory. We're still dealing right now, even in 2025, of a shortage of used vehicles, as crazy as that sounds. But during 21 and the COVID years, again, there was less new vehicles produced. Those vehicles are typically coming back into the used market 3 to 4 years later. They're not there. So there's less used cars than ever. So we work
we're
really
still
hard
feeling
to
the
find
effects
them.
of that supply
Absolutely.
chain and everything. And how long will that take to eventually work itself out, or will it?
Right. Great question. It feels like about 2 more years, and it'll, this seems to be the peak, and we think it's going to gradually get better over the next year or two, and then some normalcy.
Yeah. That's very cool. What's the vision that you have long-term for TNS?
The vision is to be the number 1 volume Ford dealer in the state of West Virginia. That is our goal.
Out of Whitehall, West Virginia.
Out of Whitehall,
That's
West
big.
Virginia. Yeah. So we're excited about that. We're actually up new Ford sales 262%. So we're currently the fastest growing Ford dealership in the Pittsburgh region, which consists of Western New York, Northeast Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia.
Wow. So, we've hit on a lot of things, but what's the key to that success?
It is customer experience. We put customers at the front of everything we do, whether it's service, sales, we put customers first. And from there, good things happen if we take care of our people. Sometimes in the car business, we get numb to the fact that a car is the second largest purchase someone will make in their life outside of buying a home.
Yeah.
So we work really hard to try to stay cognizant of that and make sure it's a great experience for them.
Yeah. How does that make you feel, Carl, being from West Virginia, just down the road in Clarksburg?
Yeah.
You're doing this right here in Marion County.
It doesn't get any better. Ford, my wife's family, several family members that have retired from Ford factories in Ohio. Really? So to represent the Blue Oval and do it in my hometown, it doesn't get any better to me. Yeah.
That's really cool. When people say they're living the dream, you technically are.
100%.
It's really cool.
100%.
Yeah. So when I think about what you're doing, Carl, you're steering, you're leading your team, your company. You're taking people that have been in the business 40 years or maybe just coming into it for the first time, and you're leading them. What do you think? And I think leadership is so important. I always say everything rises and falls on leadership, especially in the business world. And I didn't coin that phrase. I believe John Maxwell coined that phrase. But as you think about leadership today, in 2025, what do you think is one of the most important attributes of a successful business leader?
I think they have to have humility, and they have to be humble. And it's a tough dichotomy because obviously they need confidence, right? But to also be humble enough and have humility to be open to receive feedback from their team up and down the chain of command. And it can be challenging sometimes for senior managers to hear from a 6-month sales rep of some feedback he has, but we really, really encourage in our dealership, top to bottom, open dialogue and feedback 100%, because if they win, if the team wins, we win. It's all about the team. That's
strong. Great wisdom there. Thank you, Carl, for sharing that. So as we talk, our program here, Positively West Virginia, is all about encouraging people to start a business, whether it's a side hustle, whether it's bringing this dream that they have. Maybe they've created a business plan. Maybe it's a family business they're taking over. Maybe they're buying a franchise. Maybe it's buying into a partnership, which obviously you have a business partner. What would you say in terms of advice would be something that somebody's listening out there saying, man, I'd really, really like that Carl started this thing. He got into a business. Now he's an owner. What kind of advice would you give somebody thinking about getting into business ownership in West Virginia?
I would, in whatever business or industry they're looking. First of all, I would encourage it. There's nothing more rewarding, in my opinion. And second, whatever industry they're in, I would recommend surrounding themselves with people that have done it and have been successful in that industry. And for me, there was times where I had to find those people online, right? I've been lucky and blessed to have mentors and people around me, but definitely recommend surrounding yourself with people that have done it and learn from them.
Yeah, I think that's amazing advice. I always say that, it really is essential to be in proximity to people or with people in community with them, the people that have done it. It's because and let's just face the facts. I mean, sometimes you look around your circle and you're like, I want to go here, and nobody that I know has been to where I want to go. How do you get around? Well, you got to find those people that says, okay, how have you done it? I'm at whether you're in sales or whatever it might be. You say, I'm at X tens of thousands or millions of dollars, and I want to get to this point, 10x, whatever. Yeah. And you look around your influence, your sphere of influence, and you say, wow, nobody I know can get me there. Right. So you got to start looking outside, and that's Absolutely. How you get better. Iron sharpens iron, it says in Proverbs, and that's what we're supposed to do, is sharpen each other. And I think being in proximity with people who have actually done it it's not only valuable, it's essential. Absolutely. Because you can't do it alone.
Absolutely.
Totally let's just face it. As strong as we might think we are, we can't do. We need people to help us.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
Very cool. So, Carl, we've covered a lot in this interview. Would you? Is there anything else people should know about your story, your personal story, the story of TNS?
For me, we talked about entrepreneurship. I read a book once called Your Next 5 Moves. And in that book, it talked about the idea of entrepreneurship. And I had not heard that term.
Yeah, talk about that. Yeah.
So with entrepreneurship, it was the idea of making yourself so valuable to that business that you're in that they can't operate without you anymore. And earning the opportunity to become an owner in the business you're in now was a very interesting thought. Would recommend that book to anybody that maybe is working in a field or line that they would like to be a business owner in, and very similar to the path that I took. I mean, there's a Zig Ziglar quote. I may mess it up a little bit, but you can get everything you want in your life by helping others get what they want.
That's
right?
it. That's exactly his quote. Yeah, you may have paraphrased it a little bit, but and that's powerful.
Yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned Zig Ziglar. He was one of my early influencers, and I used to just be and I still am, everybody kind of jokes that I'm a lifelong learner, but I am, trying to always make myself better. And I think I haven't read that book. What was the title of it?
So Your Next 5 Moves.
Your Next 5 Moves. We'll make sure we
David.
put a link to that in the show notes, because I think that would, and I'm definitely going to check that out. But, I do believe that, I think that, the idea of being humble, in that process too, right? And I think that those two things can go a long way to adding value to the organization that you're in. And let's face it, we're all followers at some point. We even today, I follow a lot of different things. I'm not a leader in everything I do, but the point is that if you can still have influence no matter where you're at. And if you're trying to make a name for yourself and adding value and making it so that you're indispensable, that's how you do it.
Absolutely.
I think it's really cool.
On the head. That's exactly
great stuff,
right.
man.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Carl, as we close out our time here, how can our folks who are listening and watching this podcast learn more about Toothman and Sowers and perhaps even get in contact with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am physically in the business 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday. Yeah. So I'm there every day. Would love to meet anyone that wants to stop by the dealership physically. We're very active, as we talked earlier, on social media. So you can find out about any and everything that's going on with us on Facebook, following our page, Toothman and Sowers Ford. Would appreciate it, and highly informative, and we keep very, very active on there with everything going on with the dealership. Yeah, that's
great. And we'll make sure we give you guys @mentions and tag you on our social media posts wherever this podcast is going to be out there, and along with the show notes, make sure that folks have a link so they can reach out to Toothman and Sowers and maybe even meet Carl Ramsey himself. That's awesome. Carl, I just want to say, it's been an honor to have you on the podcast. I love hearing success stories. I love it when I meet somebody who was born and raised here in West Virginia, maybe gone away for a little bit and then came back and started a business here. And I just love your story, the backstory. I think it's really cool. I think what you're doing is really great, and I just want to encourage you to keep up the great work, man.
I really appreciate it, Jim. Yeah,
you can help a lot of people, whether they're working in your business and being a good mentor to them, equipping them to be successful in life, or to fixing somebody up with a good car or truck at a fair price. Right?
That's right.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So keep up the great work.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Folks, that's a wrap on another episode of Positively West Virginia. If you or someone you know would be a great guest on our show, drop us a line on our website at positivelywv.com. Of course, we appreciate your comments, your suggestions for guests on the show, and sharing these great stories of people like Carl Ramsey with Toothman and Sowers, and just helping them get their word out there as well. On behalf of our entire Positively West Virginia team, including our producer today, Mr. Jimmy Murray behind the controls, I'm your host, Jim Matuga. Stay positive, West Virginia.
We'd like to thank our partners, Highmark West Virginia, Freedom Kia of Morgantown, InnerAction Media, Storymaker, and our studio sponsor, Breezeline, for helping to share these positive stories. If you'd like to become a sponsor of the Positively West Virginia podcast, visit positivelywv.com/sponsor.